I'm David Susan, and this is Inside the Leader's Mind, where we learn that what's in the way becomes the way. I'm so excited to have our guest with us today. It's Karl Larson. Karl is a VP level leader known for building high performance teams and turning strategic ideas into real world input impact. With deep expertise in program management, Karl brings a rare mix of vision, collaborative leadership, and energy that drives both people and performance. He leads with a people first mindset and a sharp focus on execution, making transformation not just possible, but measurable. Karl, welcome.
Oh, it's great to be here today, David. Great to see.
I got to tell you, I love in your introduction, not just possible, but measurable.
Yeah,
That is. I just got to tell me, where does that come from? That whole before we even jump in, I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. I had a leader many years ago, president of the company, and she used to run around saying, "What gets measured gets done." And that's stuck with me. It's because she was so spot on. If you if you can't measure it or you don't measure it, how do you know if you can get it done, or how do you know that you've gotten it done? So it stuck with me for many years. That was many years ago that I had that interaction.
I love it. I love it. Well, tell me a little bit about what you do now.
I lead a supply chain organization for a medical device company. We make digital stethoscope systems. We transform people's lives. We save people's lives. We create products that provide early detection of heart disease using AI models. And we've been building these products for more than 10 years. I'm very proud to work with a company that actually is doing some good in the world, and we strive to make people's lives better and longer.
I love that. And your roles is supply chain.
I manage our supply chain and our logistics organization. I've been with the company for just a little over 6 years. When I started here, there was about 35 people in the company. And we really did not have a supply chain leader at all prior to me coming on board. So I had to build it from the ground up. At that time, we were still building product in Berkeley, California. We're building product in a small little warehouse. And we needed to scale the business to grow. We actually, about a year after I started, we signed an agreement with 3M, who owned the Littman brand.
Oh, yeah.
And we had to grow very fast because Littman had very high expectations in terms
Oh,
of
yeah.
volume. So we had to be able to scale the business. And I was brought on to build the business and scale it. We now build in three different factories that are international. Most of our factories in Southeast Asia. And we bring all the product into the United States, and we use third-party partners for our logistics. And we distribute all of our products from Memphis, Tennessee, throughout the rest of the country, and we are shipping globally today. We
Wow.
ship into about 8 different countries at this point.
And how's the growth been?
The growth's been very solid. We've been growing at 30+% a year for many years now. There were some tough times during the pandemic, but because of the nature of our product, we were growing through the pandemic. The
Yeah.
tough part about the pandemic was that we couldn't travel. And we were international. I had factories in Asia, and we could not travel there. So we had to do a lot of work on Zoom, like you and I are talking today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were introducing new products during that time and new features on our products. So it was challenging, but we were able to work through it. And we have a really diverse team. We do have internet. We have we have international employees. So we have employees in Malaysia and in China. As well as the U.S. and Canada. So we were able to grow fairly well.
That's really cool. What do you see right now as a leader? What are some of your biggest challenges you deal with?
The supply chain world is constantly changing, and we always have headwinds that we have to come up against, whether it's a component shortage, there's maybe some issues with logistics. We ship by sea and air, and sometimes there's issues with logistics. Sometimes there's issues within the factories of employment, being able to get the right amount of employees in the factory. When we go into areas that are growing very fast, it becomes a very competitive marketplace, and you have turnover that you've got to manage. We use outsourced partners, so I don't have to manage it directly, but we're managing it indirectly. So the challenges are managing all of these challenges indirectly, being able to influence the support and change. So that's a challenge that we're always dealing with. And then you add to it the global economy and geopolitical, um, I would say, nonsense that's going on right now, where, we've got tariffs and there's people call it a trade war. I don't know that I would call it that, but we have to constantly be looking at what's going on in the news, and trying to adjust, so it does not affect our business or overly affect our business, constantly adjusting.
Yeah.
And we have to keep an eye on what's going on globally, right? I have to, keep an eye on what's going on in the news every day, because it will eventually affect the work that we're doing.
Wow. I can imagine that's got to be very challenging at this point, having to deal with like you said, the flux, not knowing what's going to happen each day.
Yeah, but you can't you can't focus on it too much. You have to work with it and understand that there's just things out of your control, and it's not what happens, it's how you deal with it, right? It's how do you deal with the ever, changing landscape that we're dealing with today. So that
Well,
success.
I'd love to hear a little bit about how you got to where you're at now in your career.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I'd love to hear how you got to where you're at in your career. Like, how did you get to be doing what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I started out working in a manufacturing facility, a long time ago, and that's what started my interest in manufacturing and supply chain, and I worked my way up through, from the manufacturing floor into the procurement organization, into commodity management and supplier management, and then through management. Worked my way up over the years, and learned a lot from a lot of really smart people, and a lot of networking.
Yeah.
Every time there was an opportunity to learn something, I was there to learn it. And about, I would say, 10 to 12 years ago, I got out of the business. I decided I didn't want to do it anymore, and I started my own business. I had an idea for some SaaS software, and I had a couple partners, and we raised some capital, and we I'm not a software developer, by the way. I'm a business leader, but I had an idea for something, so we raised some capital. We hired some software developers, and we developed the software, and we built the platform, and then we learned the hard part, the sales.
Huh.
Tried to go out and sell, and I had to become a salesman as well, going out and selling it. And that was very challenging and difficult because we didn't anticipate the headwinds that we would get, that would be in
Yeah.
front of us, and the long sales cycle. Um, we ended up realizing that we had no business doing what we were doing, and we actually were able to sell the business. We didn't make a lot of money on it. We pretty much broke even, but we sold the business, got the investors their money back, and we exited the business. And then I realized at that point, I really did enjoy managing suppliers, and I really did enjoy negotiating contracts and managing people. And I got back into the business. That was a turning point for me because I was burnt out after many years of doing it, and I thought I didn't want to do it anymore. And I realized that I really wasn't burnt out. I just needed to refocus. And that's what I did. I refocused.
I,
And
I,
yeah,
I love that. That's really cool. Because sometimes, you know, I think we need to learn not only what we like to do, but what we don't like to do. Because sometimes the more you learn what you don't like to do, you realize the grass may not be greener, and it helps you appreciate. And I don't know that that's what it was, but it makes you appreciate what you have. And I'm good at this.
I think that's what it was. I thought the grass would be greener. I thought I'd be happier. I'm not saying I would never own a business again, but it was tough. You had, being responsible for payroll and hiring and sales and development and raising capital and paying bills. And I mean, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I would never do it again, but I thought it would be much better, and it was just much more challenging.
Yeah.
Um, and I did realize that I missed the work that I do now, where I interact with technologists. We develop, I love technology, and that's what we're developing here. I get intimately involved. We're not a super large company, and I get involved in the development of new products. Intimately involved. I'm intimately involved I have a small team, but I'm intimately involved with, negotiating with our suppliers and working with them. I visit them. So I am traveling quite a bit, which some people don't like, but I absolutely love it. And I'm on the road maybe, I would say probably 8 weeks a year, 8 to 10 weeks a year, depending upon the year. And most of the travel is international. It's rough, but it's rewarding to me, and
Yeah.
I love working with people with different cultures, and I love developing products. It's really a fun experience.
That's really cool. On this podcast, we talk about what's inside the leader's mind, and I'm always fascinated to get a little bit of insight from the leaders I talk to. Uh, and like, I would love you've been doing this for a while, and I'm sure you've worked and been around other great leaders. When you think of a great leader, what is it about them do you think that makes them great?
This Something came up. I was on my LinkedIn. I was just going through it just a couple hours ago, and something came up in front of me, and it was talking about leadership. And, it was listing micromanagement, what that means. It means that you don't trust the individuals, so, that you work with. So you're micromanaging them. And then it was said something about, you're giving up and allowing people in your group to go manage their business without too much oversight. And that usually means that you trust them. I think most of the great leaders that I've worked with or have influenced me have been very trusting and very altruistic when it comes to allowing the folks in their group to run their business themselves. The trust factor, not getting into it too much and micromanaging them. A lot of the bad experiences I've had with some of the leaders that I've worked with who have been very successful, by the way, but they were micromanagers where they wanted to own everything and manage everything. And that just means you don't trust the people
Yeah.
that are working with you. I almost said working under you, but I think that's really not a good way of looking at it. I think it's
Yeah.
working with you
Yeah.
because you're all working together. You just have different levels of responsibilities, and the people that work in my organization here, I give them as much autonomy as I can to get their job done, and I'm here to support them, not the other way around. And I had a guy at work that was my boss. He's the president of the company for a while here. Um, and we used to have one-on-ones. And the very first thing he would say to me was, "What can I do to support you and your vision?" He would say that at the beginning of every one-on-one we had. It wasn't like, what are you doing for me, or what have you done, or give me a reporting of what you've accomplished this week. It was the opposite. It was, what can I do to help move things along for you? And, that was so refreshing to me because, the support and the trust that he gave in me, that I knew what I was doing. That was so, the confidence that it gave me,
Yeah.
was, stratospheric. Is that?
Stratosphere. Hey, we're going to use the word. I don't know if that's what stratosphere. It sounds good to me. So, and maybe you kind of answered it for yourself, but what do you think your greatest leadership superpower is?
I hope that the folks that work with me believe the same in me that I just espoused from the guy that I work for. And I really hope that they believe that I give them the autonomy to go get their jobs done without really breathing down their neck. I try to do that every day. We're not perfect. None of us are perfect. And I'm sure there's times where I'm not, but I really want the people that I work with to want to work with me no matter what. And I don't want them to be thinking that, oh my gosh, I gotta go into work again today to work with this guy. I want them to feel like they're having fun every day. Like we have to get work done, real work done. And it's a very important job, but I don't want people to not want to come into work. Sundays are interesting days. If you're in a job that you absolutely hate, Sundays are the worst day of the week because the weekend's over, or Sunday nights, let's say.
Yep.
The weekend's over and you're facing down Monday morning. And if your Sundays are terrible, then you probably have a job that you need to go find a new job. My Sundays are wonderful. I love Monday mornings. I absolutely love them. So, that's a measure to me that I'm doing something I love and I'm really happy. And I want other people to feel the same way.
Love that. I love that. What do you think for just in the world of business today, what would you guess the biggest challenge leaders face is?
There's all this discussion about AI and what AI is going to do and how it's going to take over the world. And I think that it's a tool that can be used to help. Well, I will tell you right now, I use it every day. I'll use one of the tools, ChatGPT or DeepSeek or one of them. I'll use them every day for one task or another. I think that we need to learn to navigate through technology. The world is changing very quickly, and we need to embrace it with caution, right? We need to make sure that we're not overly reliant upon it, and we're not just you know jumping in jumping in with all jumping in right away. And we just need to make sure that we're managing it properly. So I think that I think that's probably the biggest thing, is embracing the technology that we've got coming at us right now, so fast and furious.
Yeah. And for yourself, if you look in the mirror and say, what's an area that I really know I need to get better at, especially with leadership, with people, what would that be?
Well, as I said, no one's perfect, right? So, I'm always every day trying to be a better person. I'm trying to, I want to learn. I want to know about, like I just talked about technology. I want to make sure that I know what's coming down the pipe and I want to know what's going on. I am constantly, I'm really vigilant about understanding what's going on in the world that I'm in. I want to know. I'm constantly doing research on, you know, you name it. Where the silicon component marketplace is today. What's happening with battery technology? What's happening with the tariffs? What's happening with the war in the Ukraine? Which
Yeah.
which when that happened, it caused a lot of turmoil in the supply
Oh,
chain.
yeah.
What's happening with rare earth materials? I mean, you name it. I'm trying to keep abreast of everything that's going on. It's really hard to do that alone. you have to have a team of people to help you do some of that, research. But I'm trying to make sure that I stay abreast of everything so I can stay ahead of it. I think if I were to say that I need to improve on something, I need to stop being so uh how do I put it? So paranoid about about you know the world, the world's shutting me down, and I'm always trying to figure out a strategy to stay ahead of the next crisis, right?
Yeah.
I've lived through a lot of crises in supply chain. We've lived through some crises here. We had back in 2016, we had a capacitor shortage because every automotive company in the world was now putting, electronics in their cars, and we had shortages for electronics. And then we got into a silicon shortage in 2018, 2019, 2020. There was a silicon shortage that we had to deal with. Lead times went from, 26 weeks to 90 weeks.
My gosh.
Yeah, I mean, just crazy, crazy allocation periods where you just couldn't get. We were developing a new product and we couldn't even get engineering samples from some of the companies because they didn't have any. So,
Wow.
you've got to try to stay ahead of these things. So again, I end up being ultra paranoid about, oh, I need to stay ahead of everything, and I need to make sure I relax that a little bit. But
Yeah.
I'm always trying to stay ahead of where the marketplace is going for the products that we're involved in.
Yeah. That's cool. One of the things that I always like to do is be able to help younger leaders. What advice would you have for a younger leader in their career?
I would say to any younger person coming up, not to be afraid to admit that you don't know something, and to continuously learn, continuously study. Education is never ending. It won't end today for me. It won't end tomorrow. It's a constant. And I would say that, you need to be curious in your life, and you need to constantly try to learn new things. Status quo is not good. Standing
Right.
still, standing still is not good.
Not in this world, not anymore. All right. And last question, because I want to be sensitive to time here. Um, and I didn't give this to you ahead of time, but I love asking my guests this. What is the question I didn't ask you and you wish I would have? Because you wanted to be able to share something with me and you go, man, I wish David would have asked me about this because I'd like to be able to tell him, maybe it's about leadership, maybe it's something that a strength of yours,
I
anything.
touched on it a little bit. I touched on it a little bit at the beginning, but maybe how do you build a robust team? Because any leader can be great, but not without a robust team, not without a good team of people. And that's, you just don't do that overnight. You need to be able to build a network of people that you've worked with. It takes time. You need to build a network of people that you can trust. And it's not just building a team that works for you within your company. It's a team that you work with every day. And, I have suppliers, and I have people that work in my organization, engineers and buyers and logistics people. I have manufacturers that I deal with. These are all part of my team. They don't all work for me directly, but they're all part of my team. And I don't get anything done without this team. Like when I told you earlier, when I came here 6 years ago, we were still manufacturing in Berkeley, and I had to build a scalable model to be able to scale our business very quickly. And I couldn't have done that without some of the networking that I'd done over my career, and building. I had people that I hired that I had worked with before at other companies that I recruited to come over because I trusted them. So, I mean, I think any leader needs to make sure that they are reaching out. They're constantly networking. They're constantly staying in touch. It can be exhausting. You have to constantly stay in touch with people that you've worked with before that you trust. So you can reach out to those people when you need them at any time, or they reach out to you when they need you. And it needs to be reciprocal. It can't be one way. Otherwise, you really do not build a really robust network of people.
Hmm.
But I think that's part of being a really good leader is being able to build a fantastic network of of people that you trust.
Very good. I love that. So as we wrap up here, I always like to give people opportunity if you need to share something that you want people to know about you or how to contact you or questions or about product or, if you're writing a book or doing a speaking, anything else you'd like
I'm
to.
not doing any speaking engagements. I am writing a book, but I'm not prepared to talk about it yet. It's
Well, don't do it yet
a
then.
nonfiction book, but I'm not particular. Um, Ready to talk about it yet. I am on LinkedIn. Anybody could find me on LinkedIn. I am active on LinkedIn. I publish articles and I try to publish a post every day if I can, every work day if I can. So I am on LinkedIn. You can find me there.
And it's
Uh,
just under your name, Karl
Karl
Larson,
Larson.
Karl, right? KarlLA.
Early enough.
SON.
I was on early enough to get my full name in there. Yeah.
Nice, nice,
I
nice.
think I've been a member of LinkedIn since the very beginning. Yeah, it was introduced to me by a guy I worked with back in 2000.
And that was before everyone was on it.
Yeah,
So
it was
you're like,
very,
it's like going to a ghost town going, hey, we're
yeah.
we're on LinkedIn. You're like, so what? No one else is here.
Yeah, he pushed it out to me and I was like, what is this? And I joined just to join because he joined and really didn't do anything with it for a while, but I was a member and I just kept going. But
Now look at
I
it.
loved it for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, Karl, thank you
Thank you.
so much for being with me today. I so appreciate you. And ladies and gentlemen, I am David Susan, and this is Inside the Leader's Mind. Thank you all for being with me today.
Thank you, David.